Hey, Happy New Year. I hope you're doing well. It's good to see you again. I hope you had a great holiday season. Quick tip of the day today, something that has kind of been on my mind for a little while. I put this picture of Scott and myself sitting down. This is like at the end of a training session. And something that's been nice about starting to train again and record again and do lessons and coaching and videos in a normal like club and not have like my own private space is this spot where we're sitting. We're looking down across four tennis courts on that side of the club. And so we get to sit there and watch other coaches give lessons, but mostly tennis players just playing tennis. Usually I'm there like early mid afternoon because that's usually when the courts are not being used a lot. But towards the end of our session, like mid to later afternoon, they start filling up, and so there's lots of doubles, lots of adult tennis, and it's been a reminder for me. This is something that's been on my mind for a little while, but it's hard. It's always hard for me to talk about things like this without feeling like I'm sounding super condescending or judgmental, so on and so forth. And I really try to avoid making statements that make me sound that way, because at the end of the day, I just want people to have fun and enjoy the game of tennis. But this is going to be one of those things where I rarely kind of go here, but it's been years since I've been able to just sit in like a tennis environment and just kind of observe lessons and players and just watch people play. And it's been a good reminder for me. I've kind of been in a bubble, the last 3 or 4 years, having our own private space. And it's been really interesting and fun. It's been really enjoyable for me to sit and just watch everyday players hit with the ball machine, rally with each other, play doubles, play singles. And it's been a great reminder for me how wide the range of execution is, like from bottom to top. I've seen some really good players. I've been able to sit and just watch really good players play tennis. Some of the coaches and some of the really high level members. But I also get to see the other end of the spectrum. And it's a reminder to me, like when the other three courts are all being used, and let's say there's three courts of doubles being played. So you've got 12 players out there, and you watch those 12 players, let's say, hit a serve. Over the course of an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, I'll see everybody serve at least once. And the huge, wide range of different approaches that tennis players have to, let's say, hitting a serve. And you know this, if you've been around tennis, you've watched lots of your peers serve. And no two serves look alike, right? Especially like beginner to intermediate levels of play. Everybody looks totally different. The rhythms are all over the place. Techniques are all over the place. And people just make stuff up. And just whatever works, right? Just whatever gets it in the box. And there's, just checking my lights. There's part of me that loves that. It's fantastic that tennis is accessible enough that you can just walk out there and make it up and just have fun, right? But when you mix that with like a kind of a fancy, kind of club environment like this, everybody tends to take themselves really seriously, and as a result, everybody kind of has like a little bit of kind of swag or like edginess to themselves, and they're trying to be cool and like not everybody, but like everybody wants to present themselves as like the best version of themselves, right? Of course, but even more so, especially at like a private kind of club like this. And so you have all these people that think they're doing the best they can, but they think they're doing things more or less in the ballpark, probably, right? It's like all these people have been playing tennis a long time, right? They've been a member of a club like this for a long time. They've probably taken a lot of lessons. They've probably played a lot of matches. And so these are people that probably are of the mindset or just kind of assuming like, man, after all this practice, after all these matches, after all these lessons, this is the best tennis I know how to play. And you're in your own, head in your own little bubble, playing against the same peers, and they're all telling you, oh, good shot, good shot. year after year after year. And it's just kind of fascinating for me to look down a row of courts and see a whole bunch of players that all more or less, I'm pretty sure the majority of them feel like they're at least in the ballpark. Sure, they're not professional players, of course. Like they understand like they're not the best player at the club. But if you'd ask them, hey, how do you think you play a lot of tennis? Like you feel like you do a pretty good job. Like you feel like you swing the racket pretty well. And I think most people would think they're at least in the ballpark. And when you look at just your normal, average, everyday club players, they're not even close. And that's like, I'm trying to like, temper this or like soften it with like a lot of context and explanation. But the reality is, most normal tennis players are just not even close. They're not even in the ballpark on their mechanics and their technique. And I think that's why a lot of people are really resistant to video. Is I think maybe way in the back of their head, there's this little suspicion that maybe I'm not really maybe I'm actually not as good as I think I am. And all this practice and all the lessons and all that, like, man, what if I'm just not even close, And that's a scary, thought. And so a lot of people will just, the videos like the plague, they're keeping 100 miles away from seeing themselves play tennis. I'd much rather just stay in that bubble. So anyway, this not so much like a tip today, although my tip, like the bottom line for me, is you avoid this by doing video, by knowing the truth. But I more or less just wanted to kind of tell the story of sitting here like this and having the opportunity now to look down the courts and watch people play, watch people teach and coach. It's been a great reminder for me, the huge wide range of abilities and level of understanding and quality of practice, quality of play, quality of teaching. It's great for me to see all of that again. It's fun for me to see the whole spectrum again, instead of just kind of being stuck in my own bubble of just teaching the way I always teach and watching the same players on my court. So anyway, just a little bit of New Year reflection. Hopefully that gives you a little bit of perspective, just a little story, I guess. But the bottom line is use video, so you know what's going on, so you're not fooling yourself, so you know the reality, and therefore you know what to focus on, and you actually know what needs attention and where you can make the biggest improvements the fastest. Happy New Year again. I hope you're doing well. I'll talk to you again soon. Take care.